Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. So glad you could join us for today's webinar, sponsored by the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling, which is part of the University of Maryland School of Medicine. I'm your host for today, Anthony Parenti, and it's my privilege and pleasure to be here. As always, and glad you could make it. I'm glad you're taking the time for your professional development. And, as always, the center is very happy that you make the decision to join us for the services and the trainings that we provide. So good afternoon. I hope everybody finds themselves well today. Just let me go over a couple of the housekeeping notes and then we'll get going. You will be awarded 1 hour CEU for attending today's webinar. Approximately an hour afterwards, after the webinar concludes, you will get an email with the webinar post-quiz evaluation link from GoToWebinar. So you just cut and paste that link onto your web browser, and once you complete the post-quiz evaluation, the certificate of attendance will be emailed to you from the center within 2 to 3 business days. So as always, due to the number of attendees we have on today's webinar, we will keep the audience muted. If you have any questions during the webinar, please use the question function. I'm going to do my best to stop from time to time and see if there's any questions. Feel free to even just include a comment in there, that's fine too. We will be monitoring the questions during the webinar and we'll respond to you the best that we can during this. We do have a lot of information to share. There's a few exercises that will be included in today's webinar. So I want to be able to make sure that we get through everything, but we do appreciate your questions and happy to answer them as we can. So please join us for our next webinar on Friday, May the 14th, celebrating May Women's Health Month, Awareness and Prevention of Problem Gambling Behaviors in Women, presented by Heather Eshelman, the center's prevention manager. Visit the center's website, mdproblemgambling.com, to register. For additional inquiries on the center's training programs, please email training@marylandproblemgambling.com. That's training@mdproblemgambling.com. And Donna Gaspar, as usual, is going to be helping me out today with the questions and just keeping an eye on all of those things for me as we work through today's presentation. So here we are for Positive Psychology Part 2. I'm a big believer in a strength-based approach to working with gamblers. We'll talk more about how that ties together and relates for gamblers. And as you know, I'm specialized in gambling disorder and treating folks with gambling disorder as well as their family members. I have a private practice in the Lutherville area and have been happy and proud to be a part of the Maryland Center of Excellence for, it's been about 7 or 8 years now. So if you were not here for part 1, no fretting necessary. You won't be lost about anything. I actually have a little bit of a review from some of the points that were made the last time. But just settle in, have a pen and paper handy, because with a couple of the exercises that I have, it'll be asking you to write down some responses to reflection questions and some of what I'm going to be asking you to do. As always, I hope that this webinar provides some personal development as well as, of course, professional development. It's a field that we can't help but learn about ourselves as we learn about how to be of service to others. So again, glad you could be here. So let's see, my clicker didn't click. So let's see if that one does. All right. The objectives today. learn what positive psychology is and how it can be applied. I want to talk about the strength-based approach to gambling treatment to help improve treatment outcomes. We're always looking to improve treatment outcomes, and we could always do more to improve treatment outcomes, even when we're doing the best we can. So I'm glad you're open to all of this today. Develop a greater understanding of how to employ these principles of positive psychology into healthy lifestyle choices for the gambler as well as their families. And we want to create therapeutic conditions for allowing clients to thrive. Again, so many different ways to try to help others, and anytime we could add to our toolkits in order to be of service to those that we work with, whether we are an administrator who is learning about this, whether we are a direct treatment provider or a specialist in some other area of psychology and work with folks. We know that you're working with gamblers, whether you specialize in gambling treatment or not, and we hope that you find today's workshop informative and helpful. So let's start off, as I typically like to with our seminars. Let's settle in, decompress a little, put both feet on the ground, hands in your lap, shoulders back. Close your eyes if you're inclined. It usually helps to focus within. And take 3 slow and steady deep breaths. All the way in and all the way out. Notice the flow of air, the pause at the top and the bottom of your breath. Allow yourself to just be here now. Just breathe normally and allow yourself to come back to the room. Just a way to, again, decompress and get yourself grounded, help yourself from being distracted by other activities, and to engage. So, wherever you are is the perfect place to awaken. This moment is the exact place to practice compassion and loving awareness. You have all the ingredients to breathe and to find the freedom just where you are. Jack Kornfield, he is one of the folks who introduced me to mindfulness practice, and has been somebody I've followed for a long time, about 9 years or so now. So I thought this might be a good place to start. Starting in the moment, taking a breath. Breath allows us to be free to be where we are and who we are. So let's start off with an exercise. So the exercise is called 3 Good Things. Think about yesterday and the first half of today. What were 3 good things that have happened? List them. I mean, you can note them in your mind, but oftentimes when we write things down, it's usually helpful. So what were 3 good things that happened? You know, it might be a little tough to take a second to reflect on that. My hope is that for everyone out there, there have been more than 3 good things. So anything that comes to mind. Once you identify that, let's see. Why did this good thing happen? Think about that. You could jot it down or just reflect. And what's important about this, and important part of this exercise, is what was your contribution to this good thing? In what ways did you play a part in those good things happening? And even if you just experienced it, because you observed. There was a part that you played, but something tells me there's more than 3 good things that you contributed to over the last 24 hours, or maybe 36 hours even. Think for a second how this practice impacts your mood and what feelings come up as a result of it. So 3 good things, your contribution, and what does it get you to think about? But more importantly, what does it get you to feel? Joy, contentment, excitement, satisfaction. I'm not trying to put any feelings in there. So if I had a good day at work yesterday and my sessions went well, why did this happen? Maybe you made sure that you got good rest the night before and tried to be present and attuned in your sessions in that day yesterday and possibly today. That would be an example. So take it further. Think about what you do in each and every day. It's a great way to develop a gratitude practice. And I often suggest this kind of exercise for folks when I work with them on gratitude, when I work with them in this positive psychology approach, when I work with them to see the strengths that they have. We're all too bogged down by the negativity. Most of our clients who we serve, actually, let's say all the clients that we serve, suffer from negative thinking patterns, suffer from feeling bad about themselves, being depressed, having a mental illness, besides having a gambling disorder. So research shows that if people do this every day for 2 weeks and reflect on how this affects their mood, their positive emotions increase and the negative emotions decrease. That it could actually make a difference to see things in your day that you're more grateful for. So, something to give a try. I challenge you to do so. Make a commitment to yourself. You're worth it. So let's just go over the definition of positive psychology. It's the scientific study of the strengths that enable individuals and communities to thrive. The field is founded on the beliefs that people want to lead meaningful and fulfilling lives. They want to cultivate what is best within themselves. There's a natural tendency to do so and to enhance their experiences of love, work, and play. This is the definition, the formal definition of positive psychology. And we talked about last time how it's based in humanistic theory, how people do want to improve and live to their full potential. So how does this relate to a strength-based approach to treatment? And this is also an evidence-based approach, I might say, as well. It is a scientific study, and it's scientifically been shown to be effective as we integrate this into people's therapy. So a strength-based approach to treatment is the type, strength-based therapy is a type of positive psychotherapy and counseling that focuses on a client's internal strengths and resources, and less on weaknesses, failures, and shortcomings. The focus is to set up a positive mindset that allows clients, that helps clients, to build on their best qualities, find their strengths, improve resilience, change their worldview so that one is more positive. A positive attitude, in turn, can help a person's expectations of themselves and others become more reasonable. So there's a mouthful there. I'm not going to take time to break that all down, but you get the point that we spend a lot of time in the field of psychology, and humanism was built on this premise that too much focus on pathology and not enough focus on health and well-being, and the fact that people have many more positives about themselves and health is actually enjoyed by most people a good bit of the time. And if we can shift the focus to this approach in a strength-based way, that we are doing a very useful service to folks. So we want to use their strengths to ward off the temptation to gamble, to ward off the temptations to act on their impulses, to empower the gambler to deal with themselves in a better way, improve their own relationships, improve their relationships with others, help them to ward off cravings. All of this bodes well for positive outcomes in treatment. So, it doesn't have a lot of words on here, pretty much just three of them: positive psychology, flourishing, and strengths. But this is the focus of today's training, is how to use people's strengths to help them to flourish. Talk about that. So with gambling disorder, as you all know, you've been to other trainings mostly before, maybe a special welcome for those who are joining us for the first time here at the Center of Excellence. It's a persistent and recurrent problem gambling behavior which leads to clinically significant impairment or distress. I mean, that's the beginning of the diagnostic criteria, as indicated by exhibiting 4 of the diagnostic criteria in a 12-month period. There are 9 criteria. You have to meet 4 in order to be diagnosed with gambling disorder. But you can have a gambling problem with just having 2 of them. So, we talk about tolerance, we talk about withdrawal from gambling disorder. We're talking about deception that comes as a result of gambling disorder. We talk about the distress that affects relationships, has jeopardized maybe a job or family relationships. People become preoccupied with gambling. These are all part of the diagnostic criteria. So just a quick review there. We think about causal factors. We're talking about biological causal factors, psychological causal factors, as well as the environment, the social environment, and how much gambling is reinforced. All these incentives, modeling other people's behavior. Many of my clients have grown up in families where it was just a natural part of life for folks, and it was even promoted in so many of the family activities or even the cultural activities of folks. But we know that people are predisposed biologically. We know that there are psychological factors that play a hand in gambling disorder and other forms of addiction, as well as mental illness. So just a little bit there about that. So how do we use positive psychology to address these issues? And we'll talk some more about that as we began our discussion earlier in the month in part 1. So positive psychology involves gratitude, as we touched on today, and we talked some about last week, so I thought we would start with that today. Developing an attitude of gratitude. The more we do that, it leads to life satisfaction. It leads to being kinder and gentler to ourselves. Positive psychology involves optimism. We talked a lot about optimism the last time. And today we're going to talk about purpose. Today we're going to talk about flourishing. Last time we talked about happiness. And today we're going to talk about flow. So the top 3 we covered last time, but I'll give you a definition of a couple of those in a few moments, and then we'll get into the others. So in part 1, optimism is not just seeing the glass half full, okay? It's a characteristic frame of mind that leads someone to expect positive outcomes, okay? And to view the world as a positive place. And boy, is this a world that's really hard to look at as a positive place with all that's going on, with so much unrest, with people being treated unfairly, with the stigma against those who suffer from mental illness and addiction. But we can be optimistic in the face of this, and positive psychology emphasizes this and promotes optimism because we can learn to be more optimistic. And there's plenty of good that happens in each and every day. Happiness, we talked a lot about that the last time. Positive psychologists use the term happiness to refer to a subjective sense of well-being, as well as the sense that your life is worthwhile. We know our clients don't experience much happiness in their lives, but that doesn't mean they don't have happiness in their life. But it's a subjective sense of well-being. It's not a destination. It's a process. And when we can promote well-being in our clients, again, we're doing them a service and helping them in their recovery, which is what it's all about. Helping people to grow in their recovery, to understand themselves better, to develop more effective coping skills. So a big part of positive psychology, this new theory of well-being, is called PERMA. We touched on this a little bit the last time, and we'll talk some more about it this time as well. Okay. This model gives a comprehensive framework for understanding well-being as the foundation for improving well-being. So if we can improve people's well-being, they're less likely to have their addictions override other parts of their life, to have their addictions be something that they are preoccupied with as much. Because what we do with positive psychology is promote positive emotion, engagement in life's activities, you know, the things that people are interested in, and their hobbies, their skills, engage in what brings out their skills and strengths, improving their relationships, having them be more positive, from casual relationships to most significant relationship, a partner relationship or other family relationships. None of us live in a vacuum. We all could use to have good relationships with people, and we know that it takes a village, so this helps us to thrive. Seeking out meaning in our lives, and finding it through work and volunteer opportunities or other ways in which we go about the business of our life. And accomplishments is not about just what you've accomplished, it's what you focus to work towards, what you would like to enjoy in your life. You know, I'd like to try to promote in folks what's the vision that they have for the life that they would like to live. That's very helpful for people to think about that, and even envisioning it, studies show, helps people to realize those visions and live those visions. So how can we help our clients to pay attention to each aspect of PERMA, this model, this PERMA model, and build up a solid sense of well-being? Want to be able to do that. So any way we can integrate this into our approach with them, you know, even when you're thinking about you come to maybe a lull in the conversation, or somebody becomes stuck in their therapy and we keep seeming to go around and around, they do, in getting bogged down in the negativity. How can we shift gears? How can we make the focus helping them to achieve wellness and improve their sense of well-being? So an important concept in all of this is flourishing. It's when we cultivate our talents and strengths, when we help folks to develop deep, meaningful relationships, feel pleasure and enjoyment, and make a meaningful contribution to the world. Now, that sounds like flourishing to me. I mean, I'm giving you the definition, but think about for anybody that we work with, and think about some of your clients right now. Think about their talents, their strengths. How have they been resilient in their lives? How can they connect better with others? You know, maybe they're not thinking in terms of, let me have a deep, meaningful relationship, but how can we help them to improve their relationships? By being more mindful, by being more empathic, to develop that empathy muscle a little bit more, it's not just these words here, but what do we help people to develop for themselves to have more of the life that they'd like? So to feel pleasure and enjoyment helps to induce happiness. But there's a lot of things to feel pleasure in our lives. And I know we work with a lot of people that have very, very difficult lives. Our hearts go out to them. They're in a lot of pain. But if we can help them to experience just a little bit more pleasure over simple pleasures, help them to see and experience joy, and help to see that they have purpose in this world and they do contribute to the world in a positive way, again, we're doing them a very useful service. So here's one of the writers of positive psychology talking about flourishing. He says that flourishing is the product of the pursuit of an engagement of an authentic life that brings inner joy and happiness. See, I truly believe this is something that each and every individual is capable of. Through meeting goals, being connected with life passions, and relishing in the accomplishments through the peaks and valleys of life. It doesn't mean we're doing great all the time, but because that's impossible, that's not realistic, okay? But that brings joy and happiness, meeting goals. If we spend a little bit more time feeling grateful and realizing what we have instead of what we don't have that we want, that's a positive step towards flourishing. All people have passions in life and can use to see the good in their accomplishments and what they're working on. So Dr. Lynn Suits wrote that. What's part of flourishing is flow. So the definition of flow is active engagement in an activity that takes great concentration on a task at hand, losing oneself in their work, okay? I added this little note, when we lose ourselves in an activity, it's not a dissociative reaction. We know that with gamblers, oftentimes they have what they describe as dissociation, and we know that they do dissociate sometimes in front of a slot machine. Okay, not unusual for them to get lost in the game they're involved in. I wouldn't consider that flow. That's kind of losing touch with time and space in a way that is not healthy or useful for them. So that's why I put this other, made this note of caution there. But think for yourself about activities that you've ever been involved in that took your concentration, but it didn't take effort. So here's some of the particular aspects of flow that this researcher who started investigating it some many years ago, who has a really good TED Talk out there on happiness and flow. So intense concentration, merging of action and awareness, or being fully present in your actions. So, have you ever done gardening where you just are enjoying planting flowers? I bring that up because it's that time of the year. And, maybe gardening is something that you enjoy. Or what other hobbies do you like? What other things take your focus? And it's a nice break from the stress of the day. When people are in flow, they experience a loss of reflective self-consciousness, which is really just another way of saying I'm not, being self-conscious in a way that's making me doubt myself or, have these thoughts that am I doing this okay? And during flow, there's a sense of personal control or agency over the situation. Like you have talents that you're putting into practice that you are in control and you're directly involved in what's going on here. Now, do you ever get that way as you're doing therapy with folks? That could be a time where you experience flow. Or perhaps you play a musical instrument and maybe you're quite proficient in that instrument. or you do artwork. It doesn't always have to be creative endeavors. And I think of therapy being a creative endeavor as well. But a distorted sense of time passing because you don't realize that you just spent all of this time. So when you're with a client and you notice that the time is up and you hadn't been paying attention necessarily to the time, even though it's important to. So experiencing the activity or situation that is internally rewarding, something that you enjoy tremendously, that's what's intrinsically rewarding, experiencing the activity in that way. So is there anything we could do? Yes, there are things we could do to increase flow for others that we work with or for ourselves, and help them to use that as a way to see the good in themselves, to enjoy life, to experience happiness, and to flourish. So as you see here, flow is linked to greater happiness and well-being, even more academic and career success, but also more positive and healthy relationships. So when people experience this in their lives, they could experience this in a friendship. They could experience this with their partner. There could be activities that they do with their partner. Maybe they like to dance together, or, maybe you're singing by yourself at home. But if you experience flow, it does lead to greater happiness and well-being. And of course, that's what we're talking about here today with positive psychology. So I hope this is a concept that I think you could relate to, I would imagine, and that makes a whole lot of sense to you. So let's try to think about flow a little bit further here. So if you had your pen and paper handy there, and maybe you could even just write down the letters, or you could write down whichever one fits for you, or maybe more than one of the answers here fit for you. But think about your own flow activities, okay? Which flow characteristics are true for you? And even if it's not a long period of getting yourself involved in something like this, can you think of anything that you do that you enjoy fully, that you get into a zone with? It could even be time that you meditate, and when you're really able to focus within. But I don't want to give you too many examples. I'd like you to think of your own, because everybody's different. So these characteristics that might be true for you, pick one of those. Or, like I said, two. Lets me feel like I'm at one with everything that's happening. Makes me think of like feeling one with the universe. About the only time I can turn off my to-do list. That lets me share amazing moments with others. Maybe even watching a sunset or a sunrise, or watching the sky turn to light in the morning when the clouds are looking beautiful with color. I find myself in flow most often. Pick one of those, or two of them. Is it when you're with other people? Is it when you're by yourself? Is it in some serene setting? And you find flow when you notice your heart beating, your adrenaline's pumping, or you're all swept up in a moment with someone else, or feel connected to something bigger than yourself. When everything feels beautiful and effortless, things happen perfectly. Again, losing yourself in your work and coming up with something amazing. or feeling very satisfied after a session because of how connected you were to a client. So I hope this exercise helps you think about how you experience flow and what circumstances and conditions you experience it, so that you could enjoy flow activities more often in your life, and we could help our clients to do the same for themselves. So think about your own flow profile there based on that reflection. So are you a hard charger, a flow goer, or a deep thinker? These are some particular flow profiles. So maybe if you're a hard charger, you like adventure sports or rock climbing, you have a very active lifestyle. Maybe mountain biking is your thing. Just throwing some examples out there. But you tend to favor non-traditional, maybe off the beaten path kinds of travel. Now, a flow goer enjoys soul-searching kinds of activities, like meditation or yoga, Tai Chi, retreats, those kinds of things. Like, let me find activities that I could, engage in that take that kind of concentration, but allow myself to induce that flow. Or maybe you're a deep thinker that likes playing a musical instrument or enjoys hiking and getting immersed in what's going on around you. Or maybe, even gardening, or just spending some quiet time reflecting. Or maybe prayer is what does it for you. So what are your flow activities? And these things are all popular ones that people engage in, and you could even help to improve your significant other relationship by engaging in some flow activities with your significant other, whether it's dancing or riding bikes together, maybe taking walks or hikes, where it's the two of you and you're connected with one another. So again, just providing some food for thought to help you to understand your own flow activity and what your preferences are and how we could promote that for others. So this might be a good place to stop for a second and see if there's a particular question that you might have, or somebody may have come up with. What's your flow type? Think about that. And when do you find yourself in flow? So self-reflection, just to think about it. Like to provide opportunities for that for folks. Donna, do you see any questions in there that I could touch on?
Anthony, we did receive some comments and some questions. The first is a comment from Valerie on exercise number 1, good things. The comment is love, family, job. Acceptance, born into a family, worked hard to get employed.
Some good things to be grateful for.
Our second question is about flow and comes in from Kristen. Could flow also be considered active meditation? I have encouraged clients to color, draw, like you mentioned, gardening. Or is flow and active meditation different?
No, I think it's different for different people, and whatever they're able to engage in fully, that's, I think, a key to it, to flow, is engaging into something fully. You don't have to meditate to get tremendous benefit from gardening or even coloring. That stress relief, if you really enjoy that tremendously, and even like kind of find yourself, not thinking about whether you're doing it right or well or those kinds of things, I would consider that flow activity.
And those are all the questions and comments we have right now.
That's fine. Thank you very much. So another important part of positive psychology is living a life of purpose. So how can we help folks to get in touch with their purpose? And for everybody, it's different. And so that this is what's the beauty of human beings, one of the beauties, one of the many beauties of the human experience is everyone's purpose is a bit different. And it's not for any of us to say what it is for somebody else, but if we can help them to understand that better and live more of a life of purpose, it helps to improve their sense of well-being and their satisfaction with life. Pardon me there. So living a life of purpose reflects who you are deep inside, your beliefs, values, and passion for living. It is about following your heart and doing what you love to do with passion and purpose, okay? And this could evolve and change over time quite easily. And, you know, I'm not saying we come to understand it easily, but depending on what's going on in our life, our purpose can possibly change, our understanding of it can. And sometimes people don't even think about this, even though they're quite engaged in a purposeful life. So if we could help them to see that and understand that a little bit more, that is useful and helps people to thrive and to flourish. So ways to help people get more in touch with their life of purpose are these different factors. If people can live by their beliefs and values, so people who live a life of purpose have core values and beliefs that influence their decisions. You know, like people are basically good. I know sometimes people might debate that with me because I do think that people are basically good. So there's an example of a belief that I have that helps me to see the good in others. But when we live by our beliefs and values influence our decisions, shape our day-to-day actions, and determine our short-term and long-term priorities. So it helps us to set our priorities and see what our priorities are. Now, these days, it's so hard to get bogged down just to kind of keep our head above water and to, you know, not be exhausted all the time. But we're in control of our lives. We make the decisions that we make day to day to give our time and energy to what we value. So being aware of those, helping people to understand and to follow their passions and interests. You know, helping, like when we're living a life of purpose, we get up in the morning, and you may not be a morning person, so maybe this doesn't fit for you, but we're looking forward to embracing the day in a way because we're involved in a life that we have. And you know, this has nothing to do with the job that somebody has, but they can enjoy their job no matter what it is. They could see the good that they provide and the value that they provide to other people's lives, to enhancing other people's lives. Doesn't have to be something where you really make a difference, but we do make a difference to everybody each and every day that we live this life. But when people have a life of purpose, they're able to feel good about living their passion and interests and engaging in activities that involve that. Achieving balance, balance in our emotional life, balance in our work, family life, balance in you know, recovery life for those who are in recovery. What we give back to others and get ourselves and have it be about, there's some balance there. When we live a life of purpose, we feel more content. We are more assured that we're making a difference. So feeling contentment, like, you know, we're very worried about the future. Human beings tend to be that way. That's part of the negativity bias that we experience. But can we feel content in where we are, even if we have goals that we're working on? can we be okay with being here in this moment, and not in this just moment, but in this time of our lives? I find that people often look back and, realize how good they had it, when it does a whole lot better for us if we can know the good that we have in our lives today and how we enrich others' lives and they enrich ours. So making a difference, finding a way to do that, finding a way to do that in even just one person's life that we may serve on any given day. So doing things without exception or without expectation of personal gain, not doing it so that we could feel good about ourselves or that we could tell everybody else what a good person we are, just knowing and being able to sit with making a difference. And living a life of purpose does involve, and you hear that theme through what I've touched on already in this segment, living more in the moment. The now is the best moment in time that we have, and to embrace it and to live in it, being aware of life as we go through it, keeps us from getting too far ahead and worrying, and also regretting and giving ourselves a hard time for making mistakes. So anything we could do to help promote these priorities, this list here, we're doing ourselves and those that we serve, again, plenty of good. So what we want to do with clients, again, is helping them flourish, and all of this is about flourishing. All of this is about positive psychology. Our clients struggle with this, but they have the ability to do this, and helping them to see that is very useful in anyone's recovery. So, I always think of recovery as not just, of course, stopping any addiction. It's about personal development. It's about increased awareness. It's about feeling better about ourselves and working on ourselves in ways that help to enhance that. So helping clients to enhance these 5 qualities, and you see there a book by Martin Seligman, who I mentioned the last time on part 1, that he's the father of authentic psychology. I was seeing authentic happiness there. He's the father of positive psychology, and this is one of his books. So the ability to direct and redirect our attention, to pay attention to what we're paying attention to realize that I'm going down a negative road, I'm better off looking at it differently. So to enhance that ability, the tendency to shape our time with intention for impact, that making the best use of our time helps to enhance flourishing. But plenty of time we are devoting ourselves to maybe mundane activities or to things that we might prefer not to do. But how can we even take that and accept it? How could we be involved in even some of the routines in life and be okay that that's what we need to tend to? So it is the practice of constant improvement, but it's about thriving and striving to thrive. It's not about focusing on my problems, because we've learned in this growing up that we've done, the socialization of human beings, that we're supposed to focus on our problems because that's how we improve or eliminate our problems. That is a fallacy. That is an illusion that we have bought into. It's not about focusing on what's wrong with us. It's about focusing on what's right and good about us that helps us to create the conditions for improvement, to be able to live the life that we would like. The ability to communicate and listen to others, right? Connection is so important. We all need it. We all seek it. Our hearts need it. Our minds need it. So being able to communicate and listen to others effectively is helpful, and that improves those relationships that are all important to creating the support network to be the village that we all need to strive and thrive in our lives, recovery or non-recovery wise. But we focus this on those with addictive disorders and gambling problems. The commitment to positive experiences, okay, that takes some doing, seeking out those experiences that we get reinforcement for, but that we also enjoy, and that we can engage in fully because of what we enjoy about those experiences. So we talked about joy the last time, but it's like looking to embrace joy in our lives helps us to feel more satisfied. Okay, so a way that we can do this that fits into all of this, that fits into mindfulness, that helps people to flourish, is working on their relationship to themselves, right? So one of the things that I work on a lot with the clients that I work with is self-compassion. Self-compassion. It's such an important aspect of being kind and gentle to ourselves, to improve how we look at ourselves, to not expect perfection from ourselves, to not be afraid of making mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. So I want to do a self-compassion meditation in a bit, but I want to go over what the research shows helps to improve self-compassion, or the benefits, I should say. So these are the scientific benefits of self-compassion. Will increase positive emotions and decrease negative emotions. So studies show that by doing a 7-week loving kindness meditation program, it increased the experience of love, joy, and contentment, gratitude, pride, and hope, interest, amusement. Awe is a very important experience. When we're awed by the experience of life, by certain aspects of life, that promotes wellness. So we want to increase people's positive emotions, of course, and decrease their negative ones to help them to have more of a state of well-being. Studies show the benefits of self-compassion increases vagal tone, which increases positive emotions as well as connection. So that vagal tone is what helps to calm us and relax us, and helps to promote that parasympathetic nervous system response. So people who do loving kindness meditations compared to a control group increase positive emotions and help to this psychological marker of well-being. Self-compassion has been found to decrease PTSD symptoms. So a study back in 2013 by Kearney and others found that a 12-week loving kindness course significantly reduced depression and PTSD symptoms among veterans diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And we know that the folks that we work with have experienced and have much trauma in their lives. And so when they do loving kindness practice, that helps them to feel better about themselves, helps to calm the nervous system, and helps to provide a useful service as well. Loving compassion and self-compassion and loving kindness activates empathy and emotional processing. And a lot of our clients can use to build that empathy muscle. So studies show this link in several instances. So increasing emotional processing in the brain according to positive lines. Here's a very interesting aspect of the benefits of self-compassion. Decreases bias towards others. So this group found that compared to a closely matched active control condition, 6 weeks of loving kindness meditation training decreased implicit bias against minorities. So it helps them to be aware of implicit bias that they're not aware of typically. So increasing that awareness in that way. Scientific benefit of self-compassion, it curbs self-criticism. Most of our clients suffer from negative self-talk. You don't have to have a mental illness to suffer from negative self-talk. So anything we could do to improve that. And so studies show that it reduces self-criticism, reduces depressive symptoms, and improves self-compassion and positive emotion. And these changes were maintained over an extended period of time, 3 months post-intervention. Here's what's great about self-compassion practice and loving kindness meditation. It's effective in small doses. Any little bit that we can do, even taking a few minutes, help to increase social connection and positivity towards strangers, as well as others in our life, but also has tremendous long-term impact. So you might think, well, if I can't do a lot of this, is it worth doing? Well, we see that in small doses it is, and it has long-term impact. So 35% of loving kindness meditation intervention who continued to meditate and experience these positive emotions 15 months after the intervention. So these positive emotions correlated positively with the number of minutes spent meditating daily. And you don't have to meditate for 20 minutes a day to get the benefits of loving kindness. So this was taken from the work of Emma Seppala, who's excellent and has a website and a lot of writings online, as well as a TED Talk and some other meditation practices. And I wanted to share this with you because I am a big believer in the impact of we could always improve our relationship with ourselves. We could always use to be kinder and gentler to ourselves. So I'd like to end today with a loving kindness meditation for a few moments. So if you can allow yourself to be in a comfortable position again, settling in, taking a couple of deep breaths, and letting them out slow. Close your eyes, allow yourself to relax. And by practicing loving kindness, you could take all the energy that we put into negativity and redirect it towards ourselves in a positive way. Just breathe normally. Check your body for any tension. And think about something that you take delight in about your own goodness. Calling something to mind or some things to mind that came out of your own good-heartedness and rejoicing in these memories to celebrate your potential for goodness and the goodness that we all share. So take a moment to just think about your own goodness and your wholehearted living. And notice the feelings that arise when you think about the good within you. And in this meditation, remember who you truly are. Remember all the good that you possess. And repeat the following phrases. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you live at ease. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease. May you be at peace. Allow yourself to come back to the room. I know we need to wrap things up for today, but I'd like you to remind you to practice random acts of kindness and to enjoy peace. Thank you so much for your attention today. Thank you for all being together to experience this together. And I look forward to seeing you again in the future. Take good care. Be well, everybody. And thank you.